Ocean acidification is ultimately caused by humans. We're putting a lot of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere by burning fossil fuels to heat our homes and power our cars. And the ocean does us this incredible service by absorbing about 1/3 of that human-produced carbon dioxide. Otherwise, that carbon dioxide would continue to build up in the atmosphere and cause an even higher rate of global warming than we're experiencing right now. So the ocean absorbs this CO2, and when it goes into the water, a series of chemical reactions occur that cause a couple of symptoms that affect marine organisms like lobsters.
So a lot of times we think of the cuticle, or the shell, if you will, of lobsters as being like an inanimate sort of hard material. Well, it's a hard material, but it's actually a living material. There are pores that go through it. There are sensillae and other sensory organs that cross the cuticle. And so it's like our skin is a living tissue. It's important to realize that their cuticle is also a living tissue. And I think a lot of people sort of lose sight of that. And that's actually where they store things like calcium and magnesium and manganese and other metals in their cuticle.
Ocean acidification is known to impact any organism that has a calcium carbonate shell because the low pH that's created by ocean acidification conditions can make it more difficult, more energetically costly to build that shell. But we're looking at conditions that can affect not just this process of shell building, but a lot of different aspects of that organism's physiology or condition. And so we're interested in seeing how ocean acidification might affect the organism's metabolism, their growth and their development, a little bit of their behavior. So with this project, we're really interested in seeing how this lobster will respond to different climate change conditions so that we know how they might change in the future. So we're really focused on 3 key life stages: the ovigerous or egg-carrying female lobsters, the lobster eggs themselves, and the larvae that eventually hatch. These life stages haven't been explored in the context of climate change before, so this is an important piece of the puzzle that will help us understand in total how this species will respond to climate change in the future.
We hypothesize that the embryos of the lobsters are more sensitive to environmental stress, like that from ocean acidification, than the adult lobsters would be. And part of it is because of their early stage in development. They don't have very robust physiological processes that could help protect them from the stress caused by ocean acidification. So they just have a more limited repertoire of ways that they can respond to environmental stress. This technology is relatively new and is really the frontier for understanding what climate change impacts will be on these organisms, because if you only run experiment for a few weeks or a few days, in reality in the future these animals are going to be experiencing those water conditions throughout their entire lifespan. And so this kind of experiment allows us to incorporate how those effects will be integrated across the early life history of the animal.